Does money buy happiness? Yes, it does. Coach Jason Capson here, and today I want to talk about money, and specifically how money doesn't necessarily mean happiness, but in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think it does mean potentially freedom. I think money brings freedom, and let me explain. I've been on both sides of that equation. I've been in a situation where I didn't have any money at all.
Jaden has $1 bill, 1 quarter, and 2 pennies. How much money does he have? Jaden broke.
I've been in a position where I was actually on welfare for a time. And it was early on in my life, and there was a recession going on. Jobs weren't that easy to get, and we were struggling to make ends meet early on in my marriage. And I just remember how humbling it was, and how just embarrassed I was, to be perfectly honest with you, because I felt like I was this able-bodied, able mind. I had all of the things I needed to go and get a job, and there was just no jobs to be had. And I felt I felt strange taking money from the government, but I did. We had to pay the rent, we had to buy food. And I remember going to, at that time, there was a welfare office that we went to, and they give you this check, this stub, this food voucher. And I remember looking at this food voucher and being, again, just ashamed as a husband trying to support my family and not having money, not being able to really do anything to provide for my family. I had no money, I had no income. I had resumes out, and I was out looking for jobs, knocking on the doors, doing all that stuff. And this was early on in my life. And I remember being ashamed. We didn't have a car. We had a vehicle, thank goodness. And I remember driving about 45 minutes outside of town to go to a grocery store because I didn't want to run into somebody that I knew when I was paying. And even when I was paying using the food stamps, they called it at the time, the food voucher, I just remember being embarrassed. I remember just really being embarrassed to give the cashier that food stamp. And we genuinely needed it. Like, we really, really needed it at the time. And because, again, I didn't know how we were going to pay the rent, how we were going to survive, how we were going to eat. It was really a tough period. And I just remember thinking to myself that after doing that, after buying the food that way, and going back home, I remember sitting by myself and thinking to myself, I'm never, ever going to be in that position again. I'm never, ever going to take another check from the government. I'm never going to have to go and drive 45 minutes to present a food stamp voucher to a cashier. I'm never going to do that again. And I remember I took any job I could get. I took the first, my pride went out the window. I swallowed my pride and took the first job, and I think it was working for an inventory counting company. Minimum wage, hopping in a van with other people, driving to stores and literally counting the packages of gum and inputting them into this little machine. And it was a horrible job. It was a horrible job. And I remember that was what was available, so I took it. Because I said to myself, I'll take any job, I'll take any work, I'll do whatever I have to do so I'm never in that position again. And I remember the feeling of, thinking about not being able to pay the rent and what that meant, and potentially being homeless. And I remember maybe having to give up the vehicle and what that meant, and how, being able to have a vehicle and that freedom that it provides, how having money in the bank and the freedom that provides to know that I can go to the grocery store when I need to. I can buy the food that I need to survive. I can pay the bills and do certain things that I wasn't able to do when I had no money. Hey there, it's Coach Jason Capson. Don't forget to check out my book, Grow Through What You Go Through. Finding the Lessons in Life's Challenges, now available on Amazon.com. Grow through what you go through. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment. Back to the video. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm never going to go through that again. And I made some changes, some very, very clear changes in my life. I remember living paycheck to paycheck, not knowing when the next week's money, like I didn't know if it was coming in or not. I didn't know. Paycheck to paycheck, was I going to be able to pay my bills, all my bills? And was I going to have to take some of the money for some of the bills and stretch it out? And I got to this point where no matter what bill came in, I tried to push it. I never paid a bill on time, ever, ever, ever. Never paid a bill on time. I always waited the 30 days or the 40 days. I always waited for the call from the collection agency or from the company itself. I pushed and pushed and pushed because I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I remember the stress that was brought on from that. Talk about living in stress all the time. When you have no money, you're always stressed out because you're worried about it all. Never mind, simple things like buying, getting a haircut. But not that I worry about getting a haircut very much, but I'm just saying, like, getting a haircut, buying clothes, buying gas, buying food, the necessities of life. You're always constantly stressed out about whether or not you're going to be able to afford the necessities of life. And then you add kids to that. When you have children, it changes everything dramatically. So then again, you have to make a decision. Do I want to live this way, or am I going to do whatever I have to do to get out of that situation so that I never have to be that stressed out again? I remember, I was married to my first wife for 25 years, and we really didn't have very many disagreements or arguments or fights. But when we did, 99% of the time, it was financially related. It was related to money. It was related to trying to make ends meet. It was related to spending. It was related to savings. That's really what it was about. So the stress that puts on a relationship, I don't know what the statistics are, but I know they're high. That the stress that finances puts on a relationship and on marriages is probably the number one thing that people fight about. It's probably the number one thing that people get divorced. The reasons that there is such a high rate of divorce, I know that money and finances play a big role in that. So I've been blessed with good health for the most part. The last couple of years have been a little bit of a struggle, but I've been blessed with good health, mental health, physical health. So I've always had the ability to work. And I've always been a hard worker. I've always been the kind of person that puts 100%, 110% into everything that I do. So luckily, I've been blessed. And there are people, and I'm not, again, we have to stop judging people that we run into, that we see, people who are really struggling, making ends meet, and people who are down and out, people who are homeless, people who are on the streets. There are a lot of people who are homeless because they just can't afford a home, because the cost of living, the cost of food, the cost of gas, the cost to live every single day today is higher than it's ever been. And people struggle with that. So if you are lucky enough to have good health mentally, good health physically, if you're able to work, if you're able to hold down a good job, and if you're able to give back, and you're able to give, you have skill sets and you have an education, you've got things that are valuable to an employer, or if you're self-employed, if you are able to make ends meet on a weekly, on a monthly, on a yearly basis, consider yourself truly blessed. And don't ever take that for granted, because I've been there. It can go just like that. I've had zero money and I've had some money. And I can tell you, no matter what anyone says, they say money can't buy happiness. Well, I can tell you this. That's probably a lie, because if you talk to somebody who has had no money and someone who had that same person who's had, I can tell you for a fact, having money is better.
Much better.
Having money is better than having no money. I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the side where I've had no money and it sucks. And I've been on the side where I've had some money and it's great. Somebody posted the other day, they were looking for candles. Someone was looking for candles because they live in a tent, and the candles are how they heat the tent. Think about that. Think about what that means. Like, imagine what that must be like. You're looking for candles so that you can heat the tent that you live in. Having money is a blessing, and we should never, ever take it for granted. Money doesn't mean happiness necessarily, But it does give you more freedom to do more in life. It does give you more freedom and flexibility to give more, and it does give you more opportunities. Money gives you opportunities that a lack of money just doesn't. So does opportunity mean freedom? Potentially. When you have more opportunities to be around people, to go and visit things, to do things, to explore, you can be in connection and contact with other people that might open the door to more opportunities. I know this for a fact. When you're around people and you're able to go to events and you're able to be around other people who have money, who have jobs, who have careers, who have businesses, there might be some opportunities there. I've had jobs over the years because of the opportunities that I had from gatherings that I was able to go to, but it takes money to go to these gatherings. So again, having money gives you the opportunities, and it may lead to a better future. Don't take your money for granted either. Help those in need. Be a good steward of your money. That's biblical. Be a good steward of your money. Save your money. Give back to those that need. Help other people. Help people in need. Do that with your money. If you're blessed enough to have an abundance of money, to have extra money, to have savings, you can give back. You can change a person's life. You think about health and wellness. Just think about health and wellness in general. The way we eat. In order to eat healthy, costs more money. It just does. Back in the day, maybe it didn't. I can say this for a fact, that about 10 years ago, eating healthier was probably on par with eating not so healthy. If you take it all in, and again, we did the math on this, and that's a video for another day. But today, eating healthier, living a healthier life does cost more. So when you have money, you can afford better food. You can afford better shelter. You can afford better experiences. You can afford to take care of your health, unlike someone who may not have the money to be able to do that. There are people who struggle just getting a meal in every single day, one meal. So if you are blessed enough to have enough money to get your meals in, for them to be healthy meals, for you to be able to feed your family without worrying about it, wow, you are very, very blessed indeed. For most people, making more money just means spending more money, and we all fall victim to that. I know that, again, when I had no money, didn't have any money to spend, and when I had money, obviously you get a little excited at first because you're making more money. And I remember, years ago, I was I forget what I was doing, selling cars, I think, and I got my first big fat commission check. And I remember just going out, I bought a $200 tie. I bought a $400 pair of pants. Craziness. And it's interesting because now where I do, we make good money, I find myself being a lot more frugal. I find myself saving more. I get a thrill now putting money into savings and investments and giving to people. Again, this isn't something that is necessarily going to work for everybody, but I find it, for me personally, obviously having a wife that is having a spouse that is very wise when it comes to finances certainly helps. She knows, my wife knows everything there is to know about finances, about savings, and we've got a great financial advisor. That's another big step. That was a huge step for us, making sure, for me personally, making sure that we had a financial advisor that could guide us, in all the intricacies, the ins and outs. Because let me tell you this, I will say this too. People with money think differently. People with money, people who are wealthy, think differently. And I've been around very wealthy people, and they do think differently, and they do act differently. Some do, some don't. I mean, that's not a blanket statement, of course. Some people are very reckless with their finances and with their money. Again, having grown up with no money, having had very little money for most of my life, and struggling, really living paycheck to paycheck like most people, and then getting on the other side of that, I find myself being a lot more responsible. And this is a key. You have to be disciplined when it comes to savings. You've got to make sure you put money away and aside for a rainy day. That rainy day always comes. So make sure you are responsible with your money. Do some research. Here's a couple of tips for you. Do some research. Go on the interweb. There's courses on financial freedom, and there's courses on how to save. But you've got to be disciplined. This is the one thing about becoming financially stable and having savings. And you have to be disciplined when it comes to your finances. You've got to make sure you put money aside. You've got to make sure that every time you get that paycheck, you don't go and spend it and blow it. You've got to put some of that money aside for a rainy day. Try to live like people who live beyond their means. You know, they need the biggest car, the biggest house, the biggest, and again, this comes from experience. And I can say, you know, I've had expensive cars, I've had the watches and all the stuff. And I've gotten to the point, I've gotten to an age where the stuff doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You can't take it with you. The stuff comes, stuff goes. It's in fashion now. It's not in fashion tomorrow. It's a fad today. It's fad tomorrow. You buy something that's really expensive and then 5 years later it's useless. You try to sell it. You get nothing for it. So again, it's just stuff. You know, at my age and what I've been through in life, it's more about experiences for me personally. Now, again, you do you. But for me, it's more about experiences. I like to save money and have experiences traveling and doing things like that with my family, with my wife. You figure out what's best for you. But I get such a thrill watching my savings and watching my accounts go up instead of going down. That's a new thing for me. And it feels really, really good. It's kind of I look at it as a challenge now. My goal in life is right now, at this particular time, I'm all in. I'm blessed to have a great career, making good money, and I want to make more. And the reason I want to make more money is because I want to help more people. That's just me. Again, you might have different reasons for wanting to make more money or wanting to save more money, but for me, it's to be able to help more people. But go online, do some research, there's all kinds of YouTube channels with experts who can kind of guide you and teach you on how to save money and how to be disciplined with regards to your finances. There's podcasts, there's books, there's all kinds of things you can get your hands on. But don't overcomplicate it either. That's the other thing. Don't overcomplicate it. You know, do what's best for you. Saving $10 today, it's $10 more than you had. Yes, you don't have to start off saving thousands and thousands of dollars. Start small. Save what you can. Take a certain percentage of your pay and put it aside. Take a certain percentage of all the money that you bring in and put it aside. Put it in some kind of an investment, a smart investment. I'm not really all that. I don't like risk at my age because, again, I'm old and this saving money thing is coming late in life for me. I wish I would have known this earlier, and I wish I would have done these things earlier in my life, because now it would be paying dividends. So now I'm actually having to play catch up when it comes to savings so that I have enough for retirement so that I can enjoy retirement with my wife. But there's some things that you should learn that it doesn't have to be crazy complicated. You don't have to get into crypto and NFTs. You don't have to get into that stuff if you don't want to. There's some simple basic principles when it comes to savings. And I will say this, the number one is discipline. The number one factor is discipline. Be disciplined in your savings and you'll be much better off. But at the end of the day, does money buy happiness? Maybe not. Does money make you happier? Maybe not. But I can tell you this, being broke sucks. Being broke doesn't make you happy. Being broke doesn't give you opportunities as much as it does when you have money. When you have money, you can have more opportunities. When you have money, you can take care of your health better. When you have more money, you can take care of your family better. When you have more money, you can have more experiences. These are facts. This isn't just, I'm not making this up. I'm talking from experience. Now that I have money, I am enjoying life more. I can do more things. I can go to more events. I can experience life on a grander scale. I can take care of my family better. The stress, the burden of not having money, of not making ends meet, of living paycheck to paycheck is gone. That stress, now I can focus on other things. I don't have to worry constantly about money, about being fed, about whether I can pay the electric bill or whether I can pay my rent. Those kinds of things, when you have money, those kinds of things go away. Again, maybe not permanently. That's why you need to save. So in case something happens, you never know what's going to happen as you get older. You never know. You might get sick. You might get injured. Who knows what's going to happen? So be prepared. Be smart. Be disciplined. Does money buy happiness? Yes, it does. And it can. It certainly buys opportunity, and it certainly buys freedom. You can have more freedom if you have money, if you have savings, if you've got money in the bank. It does give you the ability and flexibility to live a more free life. It just does. Take care, guys.